Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Cronkite Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. I'm the 5-star general. We're going to take a trip down to Fort Bend County tonight. And we're going to hang out with Bridgette Smith Lawson, running for Fort Bend County attorney. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Her husband is a Yates line. So you know what it is with that, man. So y'all sit back and buckle up. We finna get off into it. Say, man, I want to welcome you guys into another edition of the War Zone. And I'm rocking solo tonight by myself. We don't do shows on the weekend anymore. But because it's political season, I decided I would do special shows to be able to get some candidates on here so that you get to know them, so that you can go into the voting booth and pick the right people. Now, me, I'm very, very fair with the program. We are fair with the program because if we invite one person in the race, we go invite the other one. So the other person was invited, Sonia Rash, and tonight we've got Bridgette in here. And how you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate you taking time out to come on the show. I've been watching your campaign, really, really well ran campaign, strong campaign. And I think the people in Fort Bend County deserve to hear from you. We heard from Sonia. Now it's time to hear from Bridgette. So give us a little background on you. You know, where you come from, who you married to, and what school he went to.
All right.
We'll go from there.
All right. So I was born in Houston, raised in Galveston. I finished from Ball High, class of 95, and then I went to University of Houston immediately in 95. I finished from University of Houston in 2000, August of 2000, when I finished my summer school. And I immediately started law school on that Monday after I finished my undergraduate degree. So I went straight through, and I graduated from law school May of 2003, cum laude from Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Immediately took the bar right after that, and passed the bar the first time.
Let me ask you a question. You got your volume up on your phone? Check and see if your volume is turned down on your phone.
Make sure.
Sound like we're getting a little feedback, because sometimes that's what it do.
Is that better?
That's a whole lot better. Let's rock.
Okay. So of course, like I said, I went to Ball High, class of 95, went to University of Houston, main campus, graduated in 2000, started law school immediately after that, graduated cum laude, class of 2003, took the bar, passed the bar the first time, and I've been a practicing lawyer ever since. And yes, I am married to a proud Jack Yates alumni, Ortier Al Lawson, also class of 95. His dad went to Yates. All of my brother-in-laws went to Yates. So this is a proud Yates family. Ever since I graduated from law school, I've been practicing nonstop.
No. I want you to, because we're getting some feedback for some reason. Is your phone close to your computer?
Yes, it is. I'll just get it.
Yeah.
I'll have my husband take it out the room.
Okay.
Take my phone out the room.
All right. So my question to you is, why did you decide to run for county attorney? And tell us a little bit about what's the job of a county attorney.
Okay, sure. I decided to run for the county attorney position because, first off, I deal with county attorneys and district attorneys every day with my job. I am a supervisor, a managing attorney, with the Department of Family and Protective Services Office of General Counsel. And every day I am interacting with county attorneys and district attorneys across this area, from up to a 23 county area at one point. So the work of representing a governmental agency is one that I do daily, and it's one that I support and also assist other county attorneys and district attorneys with, whether it's training them, giving them motions, or assisting them with issues that may come up in representing one of their clients, and also just, again, the representation role of handling and managing a governmental client. So in doing that for years and knowing that my skill set is congruent to a county attorney, when the position became available, meaning Mr. Cordes was planning to retire, why not me? Why should I not run when I am assisting people in county attorney and district attorney roles every day to do their job? I'm a member of the Texas District and County Attorney Association. It's also called TDCAA, and that is the main training source and the main hub for all county attorneys and district attorneys across this state. So my skill set is congruent to what is needed for the county attorneys. So county attorney, that role is statutorily defined. The county attorney represents the government of Fort Bend County or whatever assigned county that they are in. They represent them in suing and in defending. They provide legal guidance to all of the departments as well as the commissioners. And in addition, they have the statutory duty to represent child protective services and also adult protective services, both of which I have experience with. So when you look at the role of the county attorney, that is an attorney specific for government, representing and defending government. My experience and background, although I've represented individuals and businesses, I also have experience in representing governmental agencies. My experience will make me, I believe, the best fit candidate for that position, for the county attorney position.
Now, you know, we deal with a lot of jack in the boxes when it comes to politics. I mean, folks that just pop up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You never seen them before. They not in the community. They not working. And I always say, if you ain't did no work before you get the job, you ain't gonna do no work when you get it. Mm-hmm. So what were you doing in your community prior to deciding to run for public office?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that. Years ago, when me and my husband were just still in undergrad, when he was at TSU undergrad and I was in law school, we were actively working with the youth at the St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church, which is right off of MLK and Beekman, right where Yellowstone and Beekman meet MLK.
Is that phone near you again?
My husband was the director.
Is that phone near you again?
I'm sorry?
Is your phone near you again?
No.
Okay, because we still
no, it's not.
Feedback. Okay, go ahead. I just want to make sure that people can hear you.
Yeah. So years ago, I'm unplugging a speaker. Years ago, when my husband and I were just newlyweds, we would give our time to working and supporting youth ministries. We called it what was called Bridging the Gap. So in addition to helping children at the church, we would go out to the schools and visit them, check on them to make sure that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing academically and behavior wise. I mean, schools from Cullen to Addis Middle School, we did what it was to get out to the community and see our children, not just in a church setting, but actually what they were doing in schools. Once I graduated from law school, my husband graduated from college, we of course started our family and had young kids. But by the time my youngest got 2 years old, we were back at it again, working in the community, working in our church, working in different social organizations. We ran our church's children's ministry for free for 5 years. So if there are 52 Sundays out of the year, we spent about 50 of them with children. And that was not just doing Sunday school, but that was also back to school bashes, parenting conferences, giving a holistic approach for the parents to meet the needs of the children, not to mention the countless hours we spent as mentors, coaching kids in track. We worked with the track team, Premier Performance Athletics right there at Marshall High School, in addition to, Fort Bend Youth Football League, in addition to community service hours that we've given in forms of just volunteering. whether it was at Second Mile Mission, whether it was at the Houston Food Bank, just giving of our time continuously. So, but the majority of our work has been in ministry. My husband is an ordained minister. So the calling is something that we gravitate to in church. And, you know, I don't make any excuses about it or any bones about it. The work of the church, I believe, is very important, because when we look back to the civil rights movement, a lot of what activated and was the base of where our movement started was birthed in our churches. So I have been working in our community, been touching children's lives. I believe that helping our children is one of the biggest things that we can do to ensure a better future for Black America. I'm not just targeting Black children, but obviously children in general. What I've been working with has been predominantly in the for Black children in the Black community. I can't stress it enough. I didn't just walk into this room and say, I'm a candidate and I've been working in the community. There are people who can verify and who can vouch for everything that I've done in helping children and meeting the needs of kids in our community. And it's something that I will do regardless of this election. It's just who I am. It's my baseline.
I think that Fort Bend right now has some real hot elections, and some of those races have gotten a little dirty. It's been mudslinging, and I didn't really cut for it, but I think you should stick to your platform and to your views and let your work speak for yourself without, cutting people ties and poking their cars. I understand that somebody poked your BMW.
Yes.
So you tell me, what are your views on the alleged cultural appropriations and exploitation tactics used by certain candidates that you've seen?
Well, of course, I'm just going to be quite honest, Gary. Since I got into this race, I've had to endure people, specifically my opponent's camp. I've been called the big government lawyer, at political forums and political meetings. It was just a joke. She's the big government lawyer, not the lawyer who started from the bottom and worked her way up to the top. I've been teased for the agency that I actually represent in terms of it being Child Protective Services. But also, more importantly, I've seen, like I said, the vandalism towards my car. I don't know exactly what happened, but I do know that someone took something and put a hole in the bumper of my car. I'm not a negative candidate, and I've seen a lot of negative things, and I'm not using any tricks or any type of images or whatnot to get to voters. When I talk to voters, I always say, real experience, dedication to public service, and proven leadership ability. And I talk about what I have done professionally. I don't send out certain images of certain types of, Black officials or Black leaders or whatnot to try to get votes or sway votes or to hit a base, hit a certain base. They always see my Black face on a post, on a picture, on a sign, or on a mailer. I think and I believe that whatever you do as a candidate, it will bleed over to what you will do if you are eventually put into office. I'm not trying to do anything that would make a voter think something different outside of what the truth is. And so those types of mailers, if you're going to do that, you need to be honest with the voters and also put your face on there. Our voters need to know who they're voting for regardless. When they walk into the poll, they need to know all of our information, our background, and also not be victims of whisper campaigns or what they call Southern strategies. We need to be able to talk upfront about what our abilities are and also even have debates about it so that the public can make educated and well-informed decisions about who they are possibly thinking to put in the office.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I mean, when you come to the war zone, we put you in the hot seat sometimes. I interview your opponent.
Yes.
And one of the questions that I asked her, if I wasn't an informed voter or somebody that keeps up with politics, I would look at the answer to that question like, you just said that maybe Bridgette is not smart enough to be the the county attorney. I don't know if you saw that interview,
I saw it.
but what is your ideologies on somebody, especially if you're married to a Jackie Klein, saying that maybe you may not be smart enough to be the county attorney?
My position would be, okay, let's have a debate and let's put this issue to bed. As a Black female candidate in this race, it's amazing to me how I always had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that I am qualified, while others get a rebuttable presumption that they are. That's why whenever I'm talking to voters, I make sure that they understand, yes, I went to law school, and yes, I graduated with honors. And yes, I passed the bar the first time. And yes, I'm licensed in federal court and immigration court. And I have experience in several practice areas. In addition, cross training in several state agencies. Not to mention that I am a strong litigator and that I manage and supervise other litigators, some who are from UT Law School, Baylor Law School, or whatever other law school, but that I am proficient and equipped and knowledgeable. I don't, that whole, thing about vote for someone who's educated. I am educated. My resume says that, and I can prove everything that I put on my resume and in my credentials and experiences. I don't work for myself, so I can't just make something up. So when people make those little digs about, maybe she's not educated or experienced, well, as a Black female, I'm used to it, because that's, something that usually is targeted to us, that we're not as good as the other. And in this particular race, it should be well clear. It should be established, and not even a point or issue of discussion, that I'm more than qualified to be in this position to be the county attorney. 45% of the voters said that I was.
Well, I don't want people to take this or the wrong way, but if you're African American and you're old school like us, our parents already told us we got to be 3 times better than y'all anyway.
Exactly.
So I mean, I'm just telling folks that's the way we was raised.
That's right.
So we always had to be 3 times better. Now I know you've been watching what's been going on in the world, George Floyd and all this stuff. Give me your ideologies on defunding the police.
Okay, so of course, defunding the police, might confuse some people. It's not necessarily getting rid of the police. It's taking the money that is allocated to law enforcement and redirecting it to other sources to stop people from even having to interact and engage with law enforcement, whether it's education, whether it's housing, whether it's just job skill training, etc. Definitely, we need to look at not just law enforcement, but how do we even get there? Why are people even involving in criminal behavior? Nothing happens in a silo. Nothing happens by itself. There is always a trigger, a cause and effect, or something else that goes on that has gotten people to that point. When I look at our kids in our ministry, and we look at children out on the track field and the football field, none of those little boys and little girls say, when I grow up, I want to go to prison, or I want to go to jail, I want to sell drugs. It is something that happens that makes them feel like they don't have the opportunities to go through certain routes to better themselves, that usually leads them to some type of criminal activity. Not that they're just inherently bad. They just feel like they've been locked out and blocked out of opportunities. So defunding the police will help move money to opportunities for kids to have after school programs and things that keeps them out of trouble, or places or issues that would get them are entangled with law enforcement. We look at low income housing. People have to have a place to live. And when you say no to low income housing, you're saying no to a child having a place to live. You're saying no to a mom or a dad having a place to start their family. Low-income housing ties into everything from the child welfare system into the criminal justice system. So nothing happens again in a silo. So yes, I'm in support of moving funds away from just punishment. We need to move money to stop people, or look at what targets that keeps them, that has them to go into criminal activity. So that's my position on defunding the police.
Now, I heard you mention earlier that your office would have something to do with CPS. Now, this dirty politics really got out of control for a second because my old co-host, slumming all the way from Cyprus up in Fort Bend, with what I call the fake CPS press conferences, and tried to throw you under the bus. So here's my thing: are you responsible for the placement and misplacement of certain children with CPS cases?
No. Let me clarify this. The county attorney represents CPS in the vast majority of cases across the state of Texas. In Harris County alone, there could be about 3,000 open conservatorship cases pending at any snapshot in time. The Office of Vince Ryan and his lawyers are responsible for representing the agency in those cases. That means reviewing their affidavits from the removal all the way through the trial to adoption to aging out of foster care, etc. Placement of children in foster.
I don't want to interrupt you. So when I watched the press conference, those people basically lied on you.
I don't have direct representation on those cases. No, I do not. Wow. I do not. I am not the attorney.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I didn't want to lose my thought.
It's kind of, I understand accountability, but you also need to understand shooting at the wrong target. If people have a concern about the agency, let's just be clear. County attorneys and district attorneys do the bulk of the representation of CPS in the state of Texas because that's their legal statutory duty. The agency is huge. It's about a $2 billion agency with 15,000 employees. I believe that's the total. If I had control over a $2 billion agency and 15,000 employees, I don't need to run for the county attorney office. In addition, this office, Child Protective Services in Texas, sits under the governor's office. He appoints the commissioners. He appoints the head leaders in Austin. When you get down to this level, we are making decisions based on the law and the policy that is given towards us in terms of what the caseworkers do. They're given training on how they do their job. Whenever they remove a child, whenever they're in court in a trial trying to terminate somebody's rights, that's going to be the county attorney's office, whether it's in Harris County, Fort Bend County, or any other county. With the Office of General Counsel, which is the office that I work with, we are separate from CPS. We represent CPS when county attorneys or district attorneys say, I got a conflict of interest, or we don't want to do the work in that county, like in Liberty County. We take the whole docket. And we represent the agency in in-house matters. Say, for instance, you have issues with cases that are not even in litigation, whether it's reviewing something for a safety plan or family-based safety services, or possibly, a caseworker gets into a car accident, or a child in foster care inherits some money. Those are the types of issues that we do handle, but we do also do direct representation. Now, to say that I am the cause of every bad case out there, that's just wrong. And I know my opponent has kind of rode around with that theory, but to me, in my opinion, and also I know this to be true, Rule 106 of the Texas Rules of Professional Responsibility state that a lawyer should not have a conflict of interest with the client or create a conflict of interest with a client or a potential client. So when you dabble on those lines of I hate CPS, what you're saying is if something happens and I do get in that position, I've created a conflict of interest to where I possibly won't be able to represent the agency. That means people in Fort Bend County will lose jobs, including lawyers, legal assistants, and also funding. Government is unique. You can't move one piece without other pieces falling behind. And you have to think further than your nose. It's not checkers, it's chess. And so I know the convenient theory of let's just put down CPS and let's just ride this wagon of we hate CPS. Well, if you want to be a county attorney, you have to be careful of that, because that could put you at odds with a potential client, which is a violation of the rules of professional responsibility. And I will say this, CPS is one of the hardest agencies in this state. And I've seen enough dead children, enough autopsies, enough sexually abused children to where I can say that the work is hard, but it's necessary. Lives are being saved out there, and the agency doesn't get involved unless somebody calls in and says something has happened. There's no paddy wagon rolling around picking up children. In addition, when you do get involved with CPS and there's a removal, the children have their own lawyer, and their lawyer can very well advocate against a parent and even advocate against the department. And more importantly, there's a judge appointed to make a decision based on what they believe is the best interest of the child. One person does not have the complete say so in how a CPS case ends. And that's the law. And that's how it is every day down there in the court. So for someone to put it all on me, that's just not right. And it's not true.
Well, let me say this here. I ran for office. I know the dirtiness that come with politics. But I told my opponent, and we still friends till this day. But when it was getting hot in the race, here come the dirt and the dirtiness. Mm-hmm. Look, let's stop all this. Let's just get in the room and talk about the issues.
Yes.
Let's just talk about the issues. So, the scariest part of all of this, if I'm a voter, as I said in the beginning, is people showing up, running for these positions, and then once they get in office, they have selective amnesia. Mm-hmm. So are you gonna be the one to be the next one in line to do it, to get in office, and then once you get in office, the hell with the people?
No, not at all. First, let me kind of explain, my background. We did not have it easy growing up. I know exactly what it means to spend a night in a 5-star hotel and what it means to go to a gas station to fill up jugs of water to take a bath with because we didn't have water or gas at the house. I come from struggle, and I don't forget struggle. And when I get into office right now, I'll say right now, not even before I get into office, I do not forget and have not forgotten people who are disadvantaged, people who don't have opportunities. And that's just in me. The person who raised me had a 6th grade education, my grandmother. Now, granted, when I got to 7th grade, I had more education than her. And right now, she still has only a 6th grade education. But I respect her more than I respect some other people with a lot of education because I know her to be a very wise person. I don't have airs or pretentiousness in terms of this class, that class, or whatnot. That's why I don't really oppose all of the fights against low-income housing. People have to have a place to stay, and they have to have an opportunity to build their life. So, no, I'm not that person to forget folk or to get into office and be removed and elite and forget about the people who put me into office. Every time I talk to a voter, I consider it a job interview because I am asking them to hire me by way of their vote. That's why I will sit there and I will talk to them and explain my position. And once I am hired, they have a responsibility and a duty to inspect my work or do a performance evaluation. That's what it would be in any type of other setting. So for me, I will not forget the people because the people get you in position. That's why I want to make sure that when I get into office, that these lawyers have a community engagement piece, that you show up at these community forums. Don't let always the first time you hear of an issue, it be from a department head. Let's get out on the streets and hear what is going on. We may not be able to talk freely about what's going on between our advice that we give the government client because you still have attorney-client privilege, but you can at least hear their perspectives and also share that with your client to make them understand a different perspective of the community. That is who I am. That's my position on that.
Well, here's the thing. I got Danita Williams put a comment up. Land and we interact with our audience. So, when they say certain things, I ask certain questions. We'll post. Mm-hmm. I saw this being very interesting. So I put this up. Landlords are calling on CPS to evict tenants, just some straight up BS. Here's my question to Danita. What the hell that got to do with what we talking about? What would her position have to do with a landlord? See, we get these rookies in that may be the change agents. And then we want to drag the rookie politician. But we won't drag the veteran ones. that ain't doing nothing, that don't do anything for our communities. I'm just asking, what does that have to do with the position that she's running for? Now, I'm gonna ask you a question that I asked your opponent. And I told her I would ask you this. It's easy to say bad things about people.
Yes.
Tell me 2 good things about your opponent.
2 good things about my opponent. She's a hardworking woman, and she has done her best to run a campaign over this past year or year and couple of months. And that's something to be commended, because she's actually doing that while she has children and a husband at home. And that's something that's honorable, because it's hard as women to get out here and run for office and balance everything, come home and cook dinner and still be mom, still show up to the school programs. That's honorable. I also think that she's a goal seeker and someone who's very ambitious. And that's something that is honorable. I'm not one to sit here and bash my opponent. I know what it feels like to be bashed, but I'm not one to bash. I just, those are the 2 things that I would say about her. Maybe after this, I can get to know her a little better outside of being her opponent. You know, competition sometimes brings out maybe not the best in people, but I do believe that she is a very respectable woman in terms of running her race and being ambitious and balancing all of the needs and demands on her as a mother and a wife.
All right, we're at the halfway point, so we're gonna switch it up a little bit. I want to ask that one question: Trump, Biden, or Kanye?
If you're asking who I'm voting for, I'm gonna vote for Biden.
No Kanye?
No Kanye.
Man, he might have made Jay-Z his second in command. He might have made Jay vice president.
I understand that, but from my perspective, government is different than the business model. The business model seeks to profit and to make earnings and to, maximize the profit. The government model is to maximize the service to the people. And I would want to see someone who has that ability to say that they've worked extensively in government and understand the focus of government in serving the community. So Biden at this point would be the only one that I could say would have that knowledge base.
Okay, let's get back to it. I just wanted to change up the monotony. If you win, what will your first day in office look like?
My first day in office would be obviously introductory to all of the lawyers on the team and all the legal assistants, and make sure that they understand who I am and what I want to do with the office, but also get their feedback. For the particular office that I'm running for, it's been under the same leadership for so many years. There's going to be a cultural shift in terms of the management style, the management operations, and my perspectives in which way the office should go. But I want to assure them, number one, of my competency, because managing lawyers is different than anything else. Lawyers are like sharks. They're looking for blood. And when they know or feel that you're incompetent, they're going to chop your head off. Just really come after you. So I want them to know I'm competent. You won't be able to bully me. You won't be able to ride me. I know your job, and I expect you to do your job, and I'm going to do my job. So it's going to be an orientation process day one. Then I would meet with each lawyer and each legal assistant individually, and any other person that works in that office, because everybody has a role and an important role, even the janitor. Because if you don't think the janitor is important, let them not come to work for a couple of days and see what happens, and you'll be trying to figure out where they are. So I would want everyone to know who I am as a group, and then who I am individually. Shadow them, find out what they do. Look at every case file that they have, audit every case that they have. And if it's a janitor, look at every restroom that they clean, whatever their job is, whatever cleaning supplies that they want, showing respect to everyone on all levels of the office. Then from there, I would, and obviously this is more than one day, but then from there, I would want to meet with all of the department heads for the county government and talk to them, see what their specific needs are, see what areas that they can improve upon, read all of their policies to see if they have anything that's backwards, that's, maybe too yesteryear and not forward thinking, and try to evaluate those and bring them up to par and up to speed to where we are 20th century going into 2021. And then from there, rolling out my plan of where I want the office to go and put in time marks and benchmarks to check in. This is where I want you to be with this task by this time, and then just keep it rolling. Not to say that I'm a micromanager, but I will want to make sure that I'm holding people accountable to moving that office forward under the new leadership. And if there's resistance, then maybe try to coach them to get along with the plan, and if not, then free them up to their next opportunity.
So here's my next question: what do you feel needs to change between law enforcement and the community in Fort Bend County?
Well, obviously, the sheriff's department has the vast majority of law enforcement presence in Fort Bend County. We have smaller municipalities, but the sheriff's department is the overarching, the largest law enforcement agent in Fort Bend County. At the helm or at the leadership of the Fort Bend County the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Department, you do have possibly a change from Mills to maybe the Democratic candidate, etc. But we have to make sure that law enforcement knows that everyone in the community is valuable and that everyone in the community deserves to be treated with respect, and that issues such as racial stereotyping or biased approaches and pulling people over and trying to accost them or arrest them or even question them based on suspicion, based on just how people look and not any other factors, that has to stop. Bigotry is something that you can't just necessarily legislate out. Those are issues of the heart, but you can put in mandatory reporting within the ranks of law enforcement and within the ranks of county government in particular, so that when people see issues that are racial, in terms of racially motivated or comments or actions or whatnot, that they have the ability to make an anonymous complaint so that people can track that down, find the person who did it, address it, whether it's training or termination, whatever it has to be, so that you can get rid of it. You have to create a zero tolerance atmosphere for anything that is based in racism as it relates to serving your community. Public servants serve the community. And if you're not doing that in a fair and equitable manner, whether you're law enforcement or any other agency, it has to stop.
Okay. What policies would you like to see put in place to stop the government issued murders of our men?
Well, number one, every time we pull over someone, there has to be the ability to capture that on the camera. And, that body worn camera, whether it's grant funded or funding from other sources, I understand triggers how those cameras are enacted or are supposed to be activated or whatnot, whatever the case may be. There needs to be a recording of every time a person is pulled over, regardless, to find out why the person was pulled over, what was the interactions from start to finish, and that they stay in the plain of sight of that camera no matter what, so that we can track down and see everything that happened. I won't say one good thing. The thing that stood out for George Floyd's death, and not that it was good at all, but it's that we saw it all on camera. But this has been going on. This has been going on. I mean, my husband is a 6'1", 300-pound Black man, and he's always had, concerns about, going places, even jogging in our neighborhood as a big Black man, because not knowing what could happen. But if we make sure that every time law enforcement engages with somebody on the beat or on the street, that it is recorded, that is documented, people will start acting the way they should in terms of respecting people, because they know that somebody else is watching. Just like with the death of George Floyd, the whole country was able to watch, and we were able to see it in plain sight. And again, for some of us, just be made aware again that this has always been an occurrence. But for a lot of people, it created a new awareness that they did not have about these instances and what's going on in terms of racial profiling Black people or even brown people. But if you record and you have more recordings in place and you see things that happen that are suspicious or even borderline suspicious, and you start addressing those right there with your policies in terms of coaching, training, and looking at those behaviors and even termination if necessary, you'll start drilling down to those causes and getting rid of the people that don't need to be there. Also, we need to make sure that law enforcement agents who have been dismissed from other jurisdictions from these behaviors, that they don't roll around and get a job here. You should be able
And what city you live in? What
Huh?
city you live in?
I'm sorry.
What city you live in?
I live in Richmond.
Oh, okay. Because I'm finna say, if we start looking at Missouri City, City of Houston, man, it's folks on these forces that they came from other places, and they shouldn't even have jobs at this point.
That needs to
I
be,
totally agree with you on that one.
that has to be a nationally linked database so that you can track all of that. We can do a lot of things by interagency and interstate operation of memorandums of understanding. And one thing that we can do, because we do it, in state with different other departments, is make sure that there's a database that if something rises to a certain level that triggers that this officer has issues with hate, that they be put on a national database so that they can't roll from the East Coast to the West Coast or the North to the South and get a job and bring into that another law enforcement agency those same, bigoted perspectives of certain populations and certain communities.
Your mom.
Yes.
But we're going to take it to the schoolyard for a second. Pandemic running wild. We don't know what's going on. One week they open us up, the next week they shut us down. What do you feel as a parent as far as kids going back into these school buildings right now?
It's not safe. It's not safe. Kids are not going to keep on masks. I mean, we can say that all we want, but let's just be real. If you have little ones, kindergartners and elementary school children, I have a 10-year-old, and it's hard to keep a mask on her. So social distancing, they're not going to be able to follow those guidelines because adults are not even following those guidelines as well as we should. So I don't think that it's safe for children to have in-class school right now. They need to look at more different options in terms of distance learning. But I'm not happy and excited about sending my child back to a classroom setting with COVID-19 not being under control. That's just the long and short of it.
I'm gonna say this because you're a mom, and as I'm talking to people, whether they're candidates or not, I'm telling parents this: if it's not safe for Superintendent Charles Dupree, Fort Bend ISD, to sit in an open board meeting, if it's not safe for those trustees to sit on that Diaz in an open board meeting, why would it be safe for me to send my child back into a school? If we can't go into city government and have a meeting as normal, how can school be normal? It can't be. See, their lives are more important than our children. So they don't care. It's just about, think about it. If you've been following it, TEA is telling them you won't get your full funding unless your kids go back to school. So basically, you just want the kids to go back to get the money, and the hell with the pandemic. No, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. I'm gonna tell you something, man. It's tough doing what y'all do, man. I like being the voter nowadays. I don't like being the candidate. And I'm gonna just flat out ask you: if you on the outside looking in, and you were looking at you and your opponent, who would you vote for and why?
I would vote for Bridgette, and I would vote for Bridgette because Bridgette, number one, has already been a public servant, and she's proven herself in public servitude for many years, 17 years of being a public servant. I would vote for Bridgette because the county attorney, if I was given a definition of what the county attorney does, the correct definition, I would know that it's not a public defender's office. It's not one to where I would say, come on in and just talk to me about your case. It won't be that way. I know that this position is one that represents governmental agencies, and I would want someone who has that experience, who has thorough and extensive experience in representing a governmental agency, who knows the interactions of government across this whole region, cross county, in addition up to the statewide level, and in addition to the national level. I would want someone who is an excellent litigator and an excellent communicator, someone who is able to synthesize the law and synthesize questions of law, and actually provide sound legal advice at a moment's notice, at a drop of a dime. Someone who doesn't never have a prepared speech, but has a prepared life and can actually lead and function and manage lawyers on a day one basis. I would want someone who has true verifiable experience that could be tracked and other people could vouch for. I would vote for a candidate who would not misstate or exaggerate or misquote the position to fit her credentials or experience, but who would tell you what the law says the position does and show how what she has been doing matches what the position requires. I would want someone who is running a campaign that's based on integrity, a campaign based on experience, a campaign that's based on proven leadership ability and serving the community. So I would vote for Bridgette. I know that it's hard to reach everybody in the county. The people that I've spoken to, obviously, from the March primary, the vast majority of them thought that I was the more qualified candidate. So again, when you have an issue or you need a specific, I'll say a specific doctor for something, you go to the doctor who is trained for that area, who has experience in that area. And in my race, from the Republican and the Democrat, I'm the only one who can say, walking in the door, I know how government works, and I know how to represent a governmental agency, and I know exactly what it takes to handle and manage a law practice that is responsible for thousands of governmental employees all at one time. This is not something that you can just figure out and kind of learn on the job, because issues are popping up daily, all the time. We're sitting here in the middle of an emergency right now. I'm the only one that has a FEMA certification in emergency management. And I put that on my cards way back in January because I wanted the public to know that I'm equipped to lead in the times of emergencies and when there is not an emergency. If we look at the issue that happened with the Clorox spray bottles with the sheriff out here, basically giving out Clorox that was overpriced. Well, we know that in times of emergencies, you're supposed to have a stockpile list of contractors and supplies and vendors that you can readily go to so that you won't be paying overpriced prices for Clorox, watered down Clorox, and sending that out to the community. So what I'm saying is this: I'm the one who's competent, who has seen so many things on so many various levels in state government, that I could walk in day one and be able to manage the lawyers, because this work is not done by yourself, and be able to manage the demands of a governmental agency that can send you hundreds, if not thousands, of inquiries per week.
Wow. You look like you ready.
I'm ready. And I'm,
you like ready.
And I know it's been convenient to say, well, she's just not qualified. I am qualified. I've been qualified. And I do know this. When I say that I'm qualified, I have a resume to back and years of representing a governmental agency across several counties in this state, including Fort Bend, that I'm currently responsible for. Being on call 24/7, 365. I can get up in the middle of the night and get a call that says, hey, we came to this house, there's a dead baby on the floor and 3 other children. What do? Law enforcement is on the site. Having to make those life and death decisions in a moment's notice. I've been equipped to do this position and run for this position, and more than competent. And I know the whole thing about, well, she talks very well. Well, you have to be able to be an effective communicator to be a lawyer. That's elementary in being a lawyer. If you can't explain your point or your perspective to constituents that are asking a question, you won't be able to do the job effectively. And you certainly won't be able to manage lawyers who are going to question you on every angle as to what you know and how you know it. I can't offer anybody in this race besides nothing else besides who I am or what I've done. And that is what I plan to bring to Fort Bend County. And win or learn, because I'm not going to say lose, win or learn, I know that I am a public servant that is dedicated to serving serving the public, who is trying to use the skill set that she has learned in state government to better my county in the role of the Fort Bend County Attorney's Office. And that's the long and short of it, Gary.
Now, the last time I asked this question to a politician was at a forum, and the first person to answer was Jackie A. Line. And I said, and your question will change a little bit, but it's along the same lines. I asked her, who gonna be the first one in here that when the mayor wants you to do something and you don't do it, which one of y'all gonna let him punk you? Yates Line stood up, it won't be me. And he punked her. So my question to you, which commissioner or county judge gonna punk you?
Okay. I will say this, as a lawyer in an advisory role, my duty is to give them guidance, to give them the pros and the cons of each decision. So it's up to the client to make the decision. They're going to be making the decision based on the legal advice that I give them. But if they make a bad decision, I'm going to tell them this. You owe the public the duty of an explanation as to what you did and why, and stand flat-footed in front of them and let them know why you did it or why you couldn't. That is the main thing that government to me is about. You're never going to be able to please everybody because, number one, 800,000 people, I can't get my two kids to agree on a cereal going down the aisle at HEB. So you're not going to get everybody to agree with what's the right course of action to take, but you should be able to explain what you did and why, and explain to the public that same analysis in commissioner's court or when they come and ask any questions by open records request or whatever it is. So as a lawyer, my job is to give you the advice. What you can do, what you can't do, the pros and cons on both sides. But when the commissioners make the decision, if it's not favorable, my advice is going to be, please explain to the public that you're obligated to serve why you did X, Y, and Z.
Well, here's a question. Right now, we're in the middle of what I call a new civil rights movement. You know, how has the civil rights movement affected you?
Well, you know, as a Black woman, I don't get to take off the Black existence and put it on and take it off. I'm going to live and die Black. And that's just the long and short of it. So I have always experienced the microaggressions of racism, the overt instances of racism, and even in this race, like I said, the constant, is she qualified, in making sure that folk understood I was qualified, and having to prove myself, as we've been explained to as children, you have to be, 3 and 10, 5 times better than the next person. So yes, I've experienced racism, but I've always taken it as a catalyst to make me do better, to fight harder, to be, just that much more equipped than the next person. So will racism ever not exist? I can't say that it won't ever exist because those are conditions of the heart. You can't legislate it away, but I would do my very best in whatever role that I'm in to fight it and to try to rid it as best I can.
This is going to be my last question. What makes you different from your opponent, and why should these people vote for you?
I am different from my opponent because, again, I've been answered to the call of public service. I am not already just looking to make a change. I have been making a change for the community right now, today, even in the roles that I serve now. A prime example of this is with Kim Ogg's office, when they have records disclosure cases in child abuse cases or sexual abuse cases. I set up the way that they do the motions to where the defense counsel can get records with ease without having to fight, a lot of red tape to get what they need. So I've been working as a public servant, and I don't believe that it's just something you throw your hands up to do. It is something that you have to be called to do. And I want the public to know that when I'm running for this office, that I'm not just trying to seek it for a title. I'm seeking it to bring my skill set to make that office more effective and more impactful positively for the citizens of Fort Bend. I want them to know that unequivocally. I want them to know that I am going to be a candidate now of integrity and ethics, and even more so, a politician that's going to have ethics and integrity. How you run your race now is indicative of how you will operate in the office. I've presented to the voters my experience to where they can verify it and they can make it an evaluation of my skill set matched up to the job. And I want them to know that when I say and when I present myself to them, that they have a fair opportunity to evaluate me and evaluate me based on facts and evidence and not a whisper campaign. I want the people that would vote for me to know that when I say that I'm experienced, that they can verify that I have experience across various practice areas, and at a moment's notice, at a drop of a dime, that I will be able to provide sound legal advice and manage other lawyers to provide sound legal advice for the county government. So that distinguishes me from my opponent. It also distinguishes me from my opponent in that I am doing the work of representing a governmental agency every day. I'm not going to learn it. I'm already exposed to it and have been doing it. As a member of the Texas District and County Attorney Association, you don't get to just join that without you actually being in the trenches. So I say all of that to say, when I talk to the voters, I want them to know that I'm not a novice in this. And I'm not just, seeking a title or seeking this role because it's open and available. I want them to know that after years of working with county attorneys and district attorneys daily, that I know the functions, I know the operations, and that they could be comfortable with my leadership, comfortable with my legal guidance, and they can know that when I am in office, I will be able to stand flat-footed in front of them and talk to them with the ability to explain what we've done and why, and not shy away from them or run and avoid those types of conversations. So that's what I say distinguishes me, and that's what I hope the voters can see, and that they will vote for me in that.
Well, I want to take the time out to tell you thank you for sitting down with me. I know a lot of people, they get nervous when I ask them to sit on the show because they think I'm crazy. I'm really not, unless I get full. I'm just a beer drinking, cigarette smoking, foul mouth all day, every day.
Well, iron. So,
well, I appreciate you coming to the zone, but we got to make sure we get you back.
Yes.
To the war zone. Want to wish you luck in your run. And tomorrow night, the war zone will be back as usual at 7:00. And the only thing I can tell them,
hey, I got one rule for you.
We're going to do it with our boots on tomorrow night.
You got to put your boots on.
Tomorrow night, man.
Let's do it, man. Come on in.
I got my man coming through.
You looking good, huh? Yeah.
My man Cupid coming through tomorrow night, man, on the war zone, man.
Good, huh? Yeah.
I want to thank Bridgette Smith Lawson for sitting down with the 5-star general.
Thank you.
And good luck until tomorrow night, y'all.
Thank you.
I'll holler at y'all.
Yeah, but you do it better with the boots. Do it with your 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 boots on.